You're watching EVH and Gear TV, brought to you by Stewart Travel Guitars. See the incredible stowaway travel guitar at stewartguitars.com. Microphones for EVH and Gear TV are provided by Rode Microphones. And official Van Halen merchandise is provided by vanhalenstore.com. Here's your host from Ontario, Canada, EVH artist Eric Broadbent.
Hey everyone, happy Wednesday evening to you. It seems so weird saying Wednesday compared to Friday, but happy Wednesday evening to you all. Welcome to EVH and Gear TV. We are live. Joining us this evening, making his long overdue return to the program from Stryper, Michael Sweet. How are you, my friend?
I'm good, buddy. How are you, man?
I'm great. I'm really good now. I'm really good. We got internet back working good. I've got a good pal on the show here. We're going to talk about a mutual love of this Van Halen band, and I think we've got some great fans in the chat that are anxious to hear about it as well. Nice to have you back.
I was going to say, you're not a Van Halen fan, are you?
I like them a little bit. I collect some of their stuff, and I like some of the guitar riffs that guy does. Yeah, but I'm also
he's pretty good, right?
Yeah, he is. I'm also a fan of that other stripey band too. You know what I mean? Black and yellow, man.
Yeah. Well, there's some debate over, whether or not we stole some of those striped ideas from Van Halen. I don't know if we stole them, but I'm sure we were inspired by them,
Who was it?
That first yellow and black guitar. I mean, I remember my brother, not long after that, taping his drum set up, very similar to that guitar.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the inspiration certainly helped us to evolve into what we are today,
Well, look. I mean, it's not just you guys. I mean, that was the fans that you were of the music. There was a lot of stripes going on at that time. I know Eddie kind of, took it to the really cool levels, but
yeah,
guitar manufacturers were doing kind of crazy things, and people were striping drum kits in different patterns, like, obviously like your brother, but everything was going in a stripe pattern to kind of pay homage or tribute to what they did.
You're right.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. And a lot of bands at the time, too. I don't know if you recall, you remember, of course, Quiet Riot, Kevin DuBrow. He used to wear striped pants. A lot of bands from the Hollywood Sunset Strip and Santa Monica Boulevard, all the clubs down there, a lot of bands wore striped clothes.
Mm-hmm.
We just took it to a different level. We took it to everything was striped,
That's right. Now, this is a silly question. Did you have the name Stryper before you went with the idea of striping things, or where did that come in?
No, we did not. Actually, as I said, my brother striped his kit first.
Okay, right.
And that was maybe, I'm gonna say, probably somewhere around 1981, maybe even.
Okay.
81, 82, and then it started turning into Robert saying, "Hey, man, let me work on your guitar and I'll stripe it up." And he would take tape and put tape on it and then varnish it. I had a beautiful gold top Les Paul, and he put yellow and black tape over it.
Oh, no.
And Man-O-War over it. Yeah. And at the time, I didn't care.
Sure.
But now looking back, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, what was wrong with me? Was I crazy?
Yep.
Obviously so. And then it went from the guitars being striped to we striped cables. We found anything black and yellow that we could purchase. We started dyeing clothes, white and black clothes in yellow dye.
Mm-hmm.
Everything became black and yellow. That was before Stryper.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's not an easy thing to do either, because I remember striping overalls when I did the Van Halen tribute. I had white overalls. It would have been a lot simpler if I could have bought red and just put white and black stripes on. But I bought white, and I went through probably 12 boxes of red fabric dye. And I remember, just to get that dyed. And I would remember wearing a white T-shirt underneath it. At the end of the night, when you would sweat, the white shirt would be all pink from the red coming off.
Man, I'm telling you, I'm with you, and I relate, and I get it. We used to have big, giant pots on the stove, 3 or 4 of them at a time, going filled with yellow dye and water, boiling, and we'd be dropping clothes in them. It's the way we used to do things.
But you know what, though? I think it's kind of a brilliant thing, too, when striping the guitars and the drum kit and cables and everything else. And on a dark stage, back in that day, it'd be the big par cans, not LEDs like we have today, and the heat and everything. But that black and yellow, I mean the yellow for that matter, would really show up in the lights. If you need your pedal board to illuminate, you got yellow. Guitars and chords, you're not going to trip over stuff.
So true.
Yeah.
And I mean, you could literally walk into a dark venue and you could see the yellow.
Yeah, you would.
In the dark. You could see it. It's not that we had, glow in the dark yellow on everything, but it just popped out. And then obviously when the lights were on, it almost made, I got dizzy sometimes looking at all the yellow, because I mean literally everything was striped, even the stage. This was in Stryper's heyday, but everything was striped.
I like the idea too, and it was probably an accidental. I'm sure. I mean, I wouldn't say accidental. I know you guys had a marketing idea going into it, but it became that brand, and it was very iconic. That just became the thing that you saw. Everything was striped, and that image, you thought about it right away.
It did, man. And what happened was, as we grew as a band, and we went along from year to year, 83, 84, 85, 86, 87, everything started to, connect the dots. All the dots started to connect, and it made sense. And, when we came up on the name Stryper, the way that happened is the label didn't like the original name, Rocks Regime. It was too hard to remember, too hard to pronounce. So we changed it to Stryper. They liked that. Then we found the scripture that went along with that. And then we made Stryper an acronym: salvation through redemption, yielding peace, encouragement, and righteousness. And everything started to take shape, and it just took a little time for that to happen.
Everything takes time. You don't unveil it before it's time. And it sounds like it came together nicely. Before we jump into the full meat and potatoes of the show this evening, we'll roll up our sleeves here a little bit. Both of us are wearing long sleeves, but figuratively speaking, we'll roll up our sleeves. A couple things I wanted to say, too. This is a nice kickoff as well, too. We're celebrating a nice birthday here by, a friend of mine, friend of yours, a fan of our show, a big fan and friend of yours and the family. Paul Perkins is celebrating his birthday today. A big happy birthday to Paul.
Absolutely. And I feel terrible because I didn't know it was Paul's birthday. I've been so involved and preoccupied with pre-tour stuff.
Exactly.
And I didn't know it was Paul's birthday. And Paul's not only an incredible fan, but an incredible friend, as I said to you earlier. And I feel bad. So, Paul, God bless you, brother. Happy birthday. I hope it's the best, man.
Happy birthday, Paul. And the only reason why I know, because I'm a friend of his on Facebook, so it how it always triggers and reminds you, right? So that was a good thing as well, too. So, and I remember, too, and I'm glad I saw it on Facebook today, because when I posted the event about a couple weeks ago saying that you'd be coming on, and I said we were moving it to a Wednesday because of our internet issues and stuff like that, and we were also booked up heavy on Fridays, Paul says, "Oh, that's going to be great. It's my birthday." So I was trying to make a mental note. Don't forget Paul's birthday. Don't, you know what I mean? So that was good. And the second funny story, I want to share some funny thing with you. You don't know this first half of the story. You know the second half of the story. So when you had contacted me, to come back on the show under under the radar, and I didn't know it was you, it's not the first time this has happened. Someone else contacted me, and I'm glad this happens sometimes, but I'm very protective now, right? You're on the internet, you're like, okay, celebrity contact, you do, and you know what it's like. I mean, people impersonate you all the time, and everybody else that's out there. And I guess the big thing is what right now I saw Steve Stevens posting something the other day on Facebook, or maybe it was Josie was one of them, because they share their Facebook account. But he's like, people being the imposter of you is the new, I've got $1 million in my bank account, I want to transfer it to you, blah blah blah. So that's the new scam: is these rock stars impersonating the other rock star, asking for cash. I'll send you some 8x10s, I'll send you some set lists, that kind of stuff, right? But anyway, so. Before you contacted me, had a person who's now a friend, Gary Holt, not the guitar player Gary Holt, but another Gary Holt, says, "Hey, I can get you Gary Kramer on your Kramer Corner show." And I'm like, "Yeah, Gary Kramer from Kramer Guitars." I'm like, "Yeah, sure, go away," right? And then he contacts me again, like, "No, I'm serious. I'll get you." And I'm like, I almost was like, "Okay, just let's talk about this. Let's get it out in the open." And I thought I was going to call his bluff. Sure enough, it's legit. The three of us are now friends. I did a documentary at his home and everything, and out in Los Angeles. It was great. So I didn't believe it was you when you contacted me. I mean, I know I've got your cell phone number. You've got mine, and we don't ever, all we do is like, happy birthday. I'll send you a happy birthday message. And I know I sent you a message when you had to, put your dog down. Very sorry about that as well.
Man. Thank you, buddy.
Yeah.
By the way.
So other than that, I tell people I don't ring your phone off the hook. So I was like, okay, I don't know if this is you or not. So I sent Michael a text message, and I said, 2 questions. Number 1, do you have a alias on Facebook? And number 2, did you just send me a message through the EVH page? And you're like, yep and yep. I'm like, okay, let's do this. So that was really funny how that all transpired. And
it is funny. And you know what else is funny is sometimes it's long story, but the guy that started my Facebook account and kind of runs my Facebook account, his name is Kenneth Paul.
Right.
And his middle name is Paul. So I'm known as Kenneth Paul. All right.
Mm-hmm.
And online. But I go in and I make remarks as Michael Sweet, but it comes up as Kenneth Paul.
Oh, gotcha.
I'm not trying to hide behind Kenneth Paul.
Mm-hmm.
So when I sent that to you, I should have said, "This is Michael Sweet, buddy."
And I still wouldn't have believed you.
Kenneth Paul.
Yeah, and I still wouldn't have believed you. The only thing that was a close resemblance was the black and yellow guitar.
Yeah,
you have a guitar in the hand, so that was pretty.
Yeah,
cool.
There's a picture of me with Bob Dylan's face photoshopped.
Absolutely hilarious. Absolutely hilarious. So let's go say hi to a whole bunch of people. We got some love in the chat tonight. This is great. I'm gonna buzz through some names quickly here. David Glazner is here. Ricky Mees, my beautiful Nocturnal Butterfly. Jason Wade, Kurt Pear, and Nocturnal Butterflies and some of her mods as well are going to be sharing links to all of your entities throughout the evening as well too.
Beautiful.
Mississippi Treasure Hunter is here. R2, R3 Locknet, Joe Hervey. Let me see here. I'm going to scroll down a little further. Jeff Humphreys Music is here. I'll continue down here. I know we got a bunch of new fans as well. Brad Egan is here as well too. Paul Perkins, there he is. T-2. He's counting.
Hey,
all
Paul.
Right. Rock and roll, buddy. Glad to have you here. Old Guys Guitar Vlog. Derek Merrill is here. Coffee Drinker. That's Brian Cazell, another huge fan of yours and good friend of Paul Perkins.
Did you say Maryland?
No. Merrill.
Okay, Merrill.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
I was say
Derek
Marilyn works for us, and she's in here.
They never know. Derek Merrill, yeah. And Brian Cazell, he's got a couple of your guitars as well. He's got a nice Stryper corner of his house. He's got a Van Halen shrine and a Stryper shrine. Very, very cool. Terry Himes is here. Tyler Morris is here. Very nice. Nice to have you. Tyler Morris is an incredible shredder. He's a Gibson guy. Young. I always call him a kid.
Tyler, hi, buddy.
Yeah, he's great, man. Blimpus is here. Joe Bentavania, that's the president of Yamaha Guitar Group, is joining our chat, which is nice.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, and Line 6, yep. A big supporter of our programs and a
Awesome.
good friend. Thank you, Joe. Let me see. What Brad Egan says, wow, Michael Sweet, I saw Stryper back in the day at Rock and Roll Heaven in Toronto. Oh, what a club.
Oh, man.
Rob Halford walked out on stage as a surprise guest that night. Did it Breaking the Law and a few others. Would you remember? That's way back.
Dude, I was just going to say that. That's when Rob Halford came up and joined us on Breaking the Law. We used to sound check with Breaking the Law.
Okay.
We're big Priest fans. We're as much as we are Van Halen fans.
Right on.
Priest was very instrumental in our progression and, coming to be as a band. So when I was looking out in the crowd and I saw someone that looked like Halford.
Okay, I was like, that guy's familiar.
And I'm thinking, what is going on here? And sure enough, it was Rob. They were performing the night after us in town. He came up on stage, and we did Breaking the Law with Rob. We've got it on video.
Oh, nice.
And we add that to our documentary once we get around to doing that.
Good. That's something you're going to be putting out in the next couple of years, do you think?
Yeah, we've been working on it, but we're off to a slow start, man. It's going to be at least a few more years.
Yep.
We want to do it right. We don't want to rush it.
Exactly.
And it's going to be not just footage of the band and a rockumentary in that sense, but we want to talk to people whose lives have been altered in a good way through the band.
Sure, that's good. Yeah,
it's going to be really cool.
That's the thing, too. I think you're doing a smart thing by taking your time because I'm sure like any act that's put out like a documentary or just a fan collage, as soon as you release it, you're probably like, oh, I wish we would have included this. Yeah. So, and there's still going to be things you're going to miss. I know you're going to miss them, but you giving yourself some time. Like one I saw that didn't take a long time to produce in grand scheme of things, but I'm a big fan of Great White, and I like what they did when they were recording their last record. They were kind of showing everybody what they did. And it was a short one, but it really made you feel like you're there, part of it.
Absolutely, and we want it to be right. And, if it takes 2 years, 3 years, hopefully not much longer than that, but we want to take our time doing it. We want to make sure that when it's done, it's very special and it's very unique and it's a one of a kind, not just another typical documentary or rockumentary like everything else you've seen. We want to make it different.
Yeah, that's good. No, that's obviously dedication to the fans, and you can tell that you guys are all about that because if not, it'd be a cash grab and you just get it out there tomorrow kind of thing. So I appreciate that and respect
exactly.
That. Yeah. So that was Brad Egan's comment. Let's scroll down a little further here, see if I miss anybody else. We got a lot of people. We've got over 100 some odd people in the chat right now. Quentin James is here. Let me see. He's watching one of his streams earlier. He's a shredder guitar player extraordinaire. Let me see here. Let's go down a little bit more. Richard Henry says, hey, everyone, 2 a.m. over here. Had Stryper's No More Hell to Pay CD to get myself ready for tonight. He's cranking that to get ready. A question for Michael. How does he keep his vocal range when a lot of guys have lost a higher end? That's a great question because you seem to have retained like 99.9% of it.
I wouldn't say 99.9. That's very kind of you to say, but I would say more like maybe 75% of it.
Okay.
I've kept some of it, but my voice has changed quite a bit. over the past 30 years. And I don't know that it's necessarily a bad thing. Let me put it this way, and I said this recently online. I can listen to my voice now more than I can listen to my voice then. Okay. I like the fact that it's dropped in range a little bit, that it's a little grittier. It's not as high as it used to be. That's okay with me. Because I think, my voice was so high in the 80s, but people liked it. Apparently, a lot of the Stryper fans liked it and still do. But, I'm okay with the fact that my voice has changed a little bit. I choose my battles. When I have to hit a note on an album or live, I choose my battles, and I try not to do too much so I can still pull it off live.
Right. Well, if you're saying you're somewhere around 75% of your normal range, has the band ever had to change tunings or arrangements or anything to cover for that, or no?
We haven't yet.
Okay, that's good. That's a
We've
good sign.
always tuned to Van Halen tuning, E flat.
Nice.
And that is because of Van Halen, basically.
Right.
But we have not changed from that tuning. We're still at E flat. But I'll be honest with you. It's getting to the point where I'm kind of leaning towards dropping it down to D, dropping it back a half step.
Motley Crue range.
I am.
I kind of like it.
To go out on the road night after night, and the thing that kills me the most as a singer is when we go over to South America and we've got 3 in a row, and we've got 4 and 5 a.m. lobby calls, and we're flying to each show. It does a number on me.
It would.
And as we get through each show, it's harder and harder to sing. So if we're down in tuning, it'd be a little easier to sing, a little less strenuous. But I don't want to get to that point where we're dropping back a step or step and a half, because it gets to a point where it's hard to recognize the song at that time.
True, because it does. Because our ears, it's kind of funny. Like, I'm an E flat guy, and I would like to say I have perfect pitch for E flat. I can tune a guitar no problem without even a tuner, but my E or my A is, it's a half step down. And it's like people are like, okay, you got a good ear, Eric, but you're not in tune. You know what I mean?
I know, because you get so used to that.
I know.
And locked in.
Yep.
And we've been in E flat from day one. And I like how it feels when I'm playing.
Slinky, isn't it?
I've dropped guitars to D before for recording, and I don't care for how it feels.
Yeah.
And I've gone to 440. I don't care for how it feels.
Right.
I'm very used to E flat. So it's with the twisted arm. I say that, but that day may be coming. It hasn't yet.
I know a lot of guitar players might think I'm crazy when I say this, but I know what you mean by the drop tuning, like down in E flat. You know how the guitar responds, and even when you want to get real feedback, get it feedback with your amplifier, just the slinkiness of the strings, the way I know the tuning shouldn't really affect that, but maybe it's just your mindset. But I know I can get better feedback if I'm in my comfort zone of that tuning.
It does affect it. It really does, and not just the feedback, but it affects the tone.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I agree.
You're up at 440, it just doesn't have the meat and potatoes like it should. If you're down at D, sometimes it's too loose.
Yeah.
At E flat, it seems to be a perfect place to be. At least it is for us.
Have you guys taken any of your classic hits and maybe tried dropping them down to D and to see how they sound? Maybe it might destroy the song? Maybe it might sound awesome. Have you tried any songs yet just to see?
Yeah, gosh, I'm trying to recall. I think we did that. I'm trying to think if we dropped down to D or if we just dropped the D, the low E down a full step, so it would actually be C sharp.
Okay.
I think we did that on In God We Trust. So we re-recorded that song on the album Reborn.
Okay.
And it's got a little bit of a more modern sound to it. It starts kind of like Terminator. Bah, 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 bah,
oh, that's cool.
And it's pretty heavy. It's cool. And we do that live, and it seems to go over very well.
Oh, good. Well, that's good. That's good for sure. I'll read a few more names here, and then I want to jump over, talk a little bit about your tour that's coming up, which is starting in about 2 weeks, and then we're going to jump right into the Van Halen territory, right in the deep end.
Perfect. Uh-oh.
Let me see here. Face Like Flint is here. Futon, there he is. Adam Reaver is here. He says,
hey
now,
Adam, how you doing, man?
Nice to see you, Adam. Nice to have you here.
Adam's gonna be working on that guitar right there. I got to ship it to him.
Okay.
He's gonna go through it. It won't stay in tune. I'm having a lot of issues with it, so he's gonna work on that for me.
The middle V.
The V right next.
Oh, okay,
to it.
gotcha. Okay, good.
This is my import right here, the middle one.
Okay.
That's a $999 one, and then the one next to it is a custom shop, $3,500 guitar. Right. And I've been having some issues because I changed the springs on it, and it's not staying in tune like I want. So It stayed in tune before that. It just isn't now.
Perfect. You know something, I mean, I'm not going to say anything about Adam because he knows what he's doing, but it's something he will maybe do, and I love doing this myself. It's his product, even though you don't need. Is your Floyd flush on the bridge, or is it float on that guitar?
It floats.
Okay. So do you like to pull back on it?
I do. I do a lot of where I'll hold the note and do the woo.
Okay, right, yeah.
The vibrato.
Nice.
Vibrato with the Floyd.
Okay. I do
a lot.
What I do on my Floyds, because 90% of mine are on the body of the guitar, I use, and I don't pull back on them, but I even know that Floyd is not going to go backwards on my guitars, I still use his trem stopper. And what I do there, and it's a good tip for guys that are using flush Floyds, is even though it's flat on that body of that guitar, when you drop the D, there's a slight tension in that metal of the guitar, and it's not much. And even that wood on the guitar, depending on the composition of your body, whether it be basswood or maple or whatever, it can still fluctuate millimeters, and to the ear you might not hear it. But on a tuner, if you put your guitar in a strobe tuner, you're going to notice a tiny bit of variance. So I always use that trem stopper, and I call it kind of changing the point of zero where your trem hits the body. So now you're raising it a millimeter, and it's just so perfect. But obviously he won't use that for that guitar, but I know when you get it back, it's going to be $1 million.
I do have an EVH guitar that has that on it.
Okay.
So I can't pull up with that one.
Right.
But it stays in tune great. But I'm so used to the floating system that it's very awkward for me. You know what I mean?
Yep.
But I love the fact that the tuning is like spot on.
Yeah, that's good. Well, I was the opposite. I got a bridge that was two guitars that came with floating bridges. One was a Kramer, and one was a Line 6 Variax. And it has the piezo system and the Floyd. And I thought, okay, there's no way I'm going to keep this floating. Because I'm a flush guy, but I thought, you know what, I'm going to learn to adapt, and I did. And it is nice to have both, a flush and a floating.
And I love it, absolutely. When I recorded the last solo album, I took a few guitars that are floating, and I took the EVH in with me.
Oh, that's nice.
And I used that on the album, and it was kind of nice because it's got a different pickup in it, and like I said, it's not floating and it floating, and it's a different wood, and it just had a different tone to it. But man, great sounds. Got some great sounds with that.
Nice. And as I was telling you last night, I was using Adam's pickups in Junior's SG, and they sounded great. Beautiful pickups. Nice.
Adam sent me a pickup, and I have not dropped it in a guitar yet. But so you're giving Adam's pickups a thumbs up.
Oh, I am for sure, because I'm a high gain guy. I like those Wolfgang pickups.
Yes.
And I put them in, and no, this is an SG, which is a very, very light guitar. There's not a lot of mass, not a normal sustain in that guitar. And man, it just sang. All the fans last night were liking it.
So it's got the output on those pickups is on the higher end of the spectrum.
I'll get Adam to comment in the chat. I'm going to venture a guess between 13, 14K, I think, somewhere in there. But I want to get his exact numbers. I don't want to misquote.
Yeah, I'm used to using pickups that are up in that range, or maybe even a little more, like in the 14. Some of my pickups, like the Blackouts, Seymour Duncan Blackouts, which I have in that guitar, I think they're up in the 15 range.
Yeah, that's high. No, on the flip side of that, I've gotten a couple guitars that come in with low output pickups, and I know like these guys like Billy Gibbons and Mark Hendel again from Great White, like we mentioned earlier. Those guys like to have like next to nothing, and that
I know.
It's kind of weird, but it's nice too. It's neat to experiment. It's like again like having that floating Floyd and a
no
rest.
doubt.
Yeah, it's just the best.
I agree. I mean, it just depends on what you're going for. But there's a guy by a company by the name of Pariah Pickups.
Yeah, I know them. Oh, I know them. Yeah, he's Canadian up here this way.
Yeah, he's great, and he's made me some pickups, and they sound killer, and they're lower.
Mm-hmm.
Made me some just for fun. He made me some covered humbuckers that are 7.7.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, I love it.
And they're killer. They sound phenomenal. I mean, it's not a metal pickup, but man, they just sing. They have such a nice sound.
That's cool. I would think that would sound nice in one of your PRS. I know you've got lots of PRS guitars. Maybe in one of the PRSs would be nice.
Absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah.
Absolutely. No doubt about it. And then I just got some Jeff Loomis pickups I'm dying to try.
Okay.
those in. Those are the high output blackouts, but they're little different voicing. So I'm curious to see how those sound too.
Right on, right on. Kurt Paris here. Paul Perkins saying hi to some other people in the chat. Janice Lala's here. ASD. I always say his name wrong. AZD is here. He knows who he is. Brad Miller says, "Hey Eric, we'll be listening. May not be too interactive. Please ask Michael why there's no Central Florida tour dates at this point." And actually, we're going to be getting into tour in a moment. Florida just not on the radar at the moment.
Yeah, you know what happens, man?
Promoters.
Some people online get upset. I'm not saying he's upset.
No.
I'm saying some people get upset if we're not coming through their neck of the woods. And sometimes they take it personal and they think that we're avoiding them or we're purposely not going there. And it's really not like that at all.
Yeah.
Sadly, what happens is we just don't get the offers that are able to line up and meet our needs. And sometimes we have to skip a town or two. We don't like doing that, but it's unfortunate, but it's reality sometimes.
That's right. No, I hear it all the time with every single guest that comes on the show because fans will always ask, and a lot of fans, they just don't know, right? It's not that they're ignorant or anything else. They just don't know how it works, logistics. And he's like, come to Boise, Idaho. We'd love to. And I'm sure in a lot of cases, it's not like back in the day when, you guys would load up in a car and do it for gas money, or maybe some burgers or something.
Or before, when we would do backyard parties, we would literally have to mow the lawn before we'd play. Those days are gone.
I know. So it's logistics, and then on top of that, okay, we're going to go to Boise. Now we need, what's the 2 surrounding cities we can, route to, compensate,
True.
Yeah, so it's a lot of logistics. So good question.
So many, and it just, sometimes we'll literally skip a town over and over and over again year after year, and we start to feel really bad about it because, gosh, we really want to go there.
Yeah.
But we can't.
That's right. I know. It must be a real drag as well, too. And I know, speaking of the tour, you'll be up my way in about 2 weeks. You're hitting Toronto, the Rockpile, which I've played at. It was one of the last club I ever played at was Rockpile. But I'll come up and see you. I'll bring a couple of my Toronto buddies.
Oh, awesome, man. I'm looking forward to it. And the people there are great. We love the Rockpile.
Mm-hmm.
Sadly, it's one of the areas that we're not able to get to on a consistent basis.
Right.
Because it's just hard to route and hard to make it work. Sometimes.
Yeah, no, it's one of the last few in our area. I mean, there's still a few, but I mean, they're drying up here in Canada, and it's a good rock bar.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And there's 2 of them, right? 2 rock piles.
That I didn't know. Oh, yeah, there was one downtown, I think, and this one's out. The other one's out in Etobicoke, isn't it? I think.
Yeah, we played both of them, but the one you're referring to, we've played many times.
Yeah, that's the one outside a little bit. Yeah, and Lynch Mob's coming up that way as well too, very soon too.
And
awesome.
I always get excited to go there, man, because the bar food they serve, yum.
Yeah,
good stuff.
And that doesn't always go hand in hand. Some bars you don't want to eat at. Old Guys Guitar Vlog is here. Kurt Pear, I think I said that. Let me see here. Stephen Hurd is here, and I'm going to try to scroll in this chat a little bit. It's locking up on me, so I'll probably try to come back to it. There's a question from Lars. Lars Guitar says, does Michael still play the GMW guitar?
You know what? Here's the story with GMW. Oz was using GMWs first, and he still does. He has a few GMWs that he plays. They built me a guitar, Lee at GMW, and I played it, and it was a very heavy guitar, really nice guitar, but very heavy. So he tried making another guitar for me. It was very heavy as well. I love the build. I love the way they were made. I love the feel, but they were just real heavy for me. So I wound up eventually and obviously going with Washburn. And these guitars, the thing I love about these guitars is they're made to spec. So the necks on these feel like a PRS.
Gotcha.
Okay, so if you like a custom 24, that's what these necks feel like.
Okay.
They're fantastic. And the bodies, though, are made out of mahogany, but they're very thin bodies, so they're lightweight. But they still sound warm. They still have the to them. So that's why I love them, man. Washburn just knocked it out of the park with these guitars.
Well, it's good stuff. They're beautiful looking guitars. I've never had my hands on one. Pretty much in Canada, would like Long McQuaid carry them? Do you know who carries them up this way?
Gosh, I don't, man, but I could find out for you.
No problem. I'll investigate as well too. I'll look. I mean, I'll have to just go to the Washburn website and I'll see where the dealers are. But yeah, I'd like to check them out.
And I'm excited because I've got. I don't know if you can see this one. Can you see the Priestess, the one that looks kind of like an Explorer?
Yes, I can see it right now on the big screen. I can.
Okay, so that's called the Priestess. Okay, and then they've got the Solar V. and which is right there. And then this is the import. But they're making 2 more models. They're making one based on a Washburn that I had in the 80s.
Okay.
We're going to re-release that. It's really cool. And then they're also making a classic V style with one pickup, rounded arms, and more of that classic look to it. And then an acoustic guitar. So they're doing a whole Michael Sweet line. It's crazy.
Man. That's great, man. That's got to be quite the story.
I'm humbled, man. I really am. I tell you, because who am I, you know? But hey, Washburn believes in what I'm doing, and they've put a lot of faith in me, and I'm really blessed to be a part of the Washburn team.
That's good. And actually, I'm gonna jump right towards the end of the program where I had a question. It has a lot to do with Adam Reaver, and actually, this is a good segue because he just commented in the chat and said the output on those pickups is 15.5, warm and creamy. So that's good. That's right in the neighborhood where I was talking.
That's a high output pickup, man.
It is for sure. So since how we mentioned him, and I want to talk about these guitars. So I saw that story that was really cool a while back too, where he and some buddies, I don't know if it was Mike Tempesta or whoever, but I know Adam was involved in it, getting you and Tracy Gunn some of the Eddie signature guitars. And what my point is with that, it was so cool to see you and Tracy kind of fanboy out and go crazy over Eddie's guitars, like we do with Eddie's guitars. And at the same time, there's people like us out here, like some of our fans in the chat, like Brian Cazell and Paul Perkins and people like that buy these guitars of yours, and they go just as crazy as you are over Eddie's guitars. It's got to be pretty cool for you to see that from the fan side too. It's
amazing. And, to tell you the story about Adam, I think I posted something about an Eddie guitar, and then Adam started looking into getting us those guitars. Mm-hmm. at cost, through Fender, of course, EVH. And what Adam wound up doing, and Adam's the kind of guy that doesn't want any of the glory,
right? I know,
or praise, because he's that kind of a guy. But he wound up just basically getting those guitars and going through them with all the FU tone upgrades, mm-hmm. and then sending them to us.
That's good, yeah, because the guitars come great.
Here you go. And it blew my mind.
I know. The guitars are perfect from the factory, but I always tell people, when people come to my channel and they ask me for upgrade information, like I would be lying if I said, okay, this does this, and this is going to make it better, this can make it better. I say, this is what makes it better from the get-go. That brass block, that's where you want to start. Right. And that's going to make the first audible difference. Now, you want to, if you have the budget for it, here's the next part of the thing I recommend. And I say this is almost like the preventative maintenance. This extra stuff is going to stop you from corrosion and rusting, and stripping is a big thing, right? Yeah. And you do that and you spend a couple $100 on a guitar that might be, US dollars, $800 to $1,500, depending on the guitar. Man, you got a $3,000 shredder.
I love it, man. Mm-hmm. I love it. And Adam went through it, and it plays incredible, sounds incredible. And then what I decided to do was Pariah built me a little hotter version of their Pasadena series pickup that I dropped in that. And the thing sounds like it's just on fire. It just sounds like unbelievable.
That is way cool. Very, very cool.
It's so good.
Yeah. One of my Canadian buddies here, Brian Cote, I know we can see a lot of your amps behind you, Splon and things like that. I think I saw Randall. He's asking, what amps are you using? And does it change live? I know you're using your ISP signature, effects unit, but what are you using amp-wise?
Yeah, live I use the ISP.
Okay, strictly.
I have the ISP Theta Pro Michael Sweet model, which is all yellow and big, and then they just made me, which I'm taking on this tour, an MSX.
Okay.
So smaller, scaled down version.
Nice.
It's the same. All the same inputs and outputs. Amp-wise, on tour, believe it or not, for weight purposes and tone purposes, Oz and I use GK bass amps.
He told me that story. Yes, I was like, what the heck?
And we were using Carvin bass amps because they were lightweight and they were loud, and the headroom is crazy insane. And really all we want is clean power.
Gotcha. Yeah, that'll do it.
All of our gain is coming from our pedals, our boxes. So now we're using GKs. I'm using a Fusion 500 bass head. And I tell you, man, it's insane. It sounds really, really great. Now in the studio, I use my Splons. Okay.
Yep.
So I've got one loaded with EL34s and one loaded with KT88s. And then I've got, I don't know if you can see this Randall over here.
No, just the top of it, unfortunately.
Okay. Well, sitting over here is a Thrasher Randall.
Yep.
And, they sent me that, and I plugged into it, and I was blown away. And I used that on my latest solo album, 10, exclusively.
Oh, nice.
I mean, I use my Theta, but I use that amp exclusively. That's the only amp I use, and it just sounds incredible.
I gotta say, I would expect something to have some yellow stripes on, but those splons with the yellow motif like that look really nice. And
they're sitting on, I don't think you can see them, but they're sitting on 3 212 cabs.
No, I can't see that. That's cool. Nice.
Here, I'll show you real quick.
Okay.
I'll show you.
Look at that. I love it.
I've got 3 yellow and black cabs.
Yep.
That they're sitting on.
Now we can see that Randall good now, too. Thank you. That's good.
I'll tell you, man, what I do is I come down here and I plug into those splons, both heads, through those cabs, and all the gold records on the wall, which might be hard to see as well, but I have to readjust them because they're all hanging crooked, and I just shake the walls down here, man.
That's a great problem to have, isn't it? Yeah, my so loud that my gold records are falling off the wall.
And that probably sounds very pretentious.
No, it's okay. I'm joking with you. That's hilarious.
You are, but it's funny, man, because every time I crank those up, I look at the wall, at the records on the wall, and they're just all over the place. And it's like I'll spend, because I'm OCD big time.
Yeah.
I'll spend a half an hour readjusting the gold record.
I can imagine. No, that's funny. I wasn't teasing you. That was funny. Let's jump now into this big deep end of this pool of producing Van Halen. So this was kind of the topic at hand tonight. And, you've been kind of quoted in some of the gossip magazines and the news magazines and all that kind of stuff, saying that, if given the chance, you think you could produce a record that would be comparable, like, the first Van Halen 2, Women and Children First, really made a statement on the world. And, you yourself, just as maybe as a fan, as a professional musician, that's what hit you was that era. What would producing Van Halen mean to you, and what would it entail for you? Like, how would you be involved if given the opportunity?
Well, first, I mean, some people were commenting negatively on the fact that I left out Fair Warning and Diver Down, 1984, all the Roth Van Halen.
The 6, yeah.
Yeah. And I was just throwing out the first 3 because those were the ones that really made the hairs on my arm stand on end. So I love the other 3 as well. But that being said, I mean and meant no disrespect to Van Halen. If I read a story about someone saying they could produce Van Halen, my eyebrows would go up.
Sure. And
I'd think, who is this guy? Who does he think he is? I think the same thing.
Yeah.
Because Van Halen is sacred. They're my favorite band of all time. I think they're the greatest American rock band of all time. Many people would argue with me on that, and that's fine. That's what I believe. Not only were they incredible, and they proved that, but they were life-changing for me as a musician, as a producer, a writer, a guitar player, a singer, a band, an artist. They just inspired me in all areas. So that's exactly why I believe I could be a great co-producer, because obviously Eddie's a brilliant producer, and he's proven that. But I feel that I'm someone that, if ever given the chance, I could come in and kind of steer them in the right direction with this, and that. And even David Lee Roth, I hear people say all the time, "Oh, he can't sing anymore," and I say, BS. What do you mean he can't sing anymore? He sings different. But it's interesting because when I hear David, hit a note or talk or yell or in an upper register, I can still hear the power and the range in his voice.
Sure.
So I know it's there. It's just a matter of, I don't want to say retraining, but redirecting someone to do something else versus what they're stuck doing. If that makes any sense?
No, it does make sense. It does for sure. And that's one of the things, like, I get asked this question a lot on the shows, like, do you think, hey, Eric, do you know if Van Halen's going to tour? Do you know if they're going to do a new record? Or they blah, blah, blah. What are they doing? They don't do press, all that kind of stuff. And I as a fan, I want to see it, as you know, but at the same time, I respect their decision to not do anything because it almost seems like they can't win in the press. The last couple tours, first thing everyone wanted to do was rag on Dave. Dave's losing it. Well, I mean, he only had he wasn't the world's best singer to begin with, but he had the style. He had everything everyone wanted. He was the leader of Van Halen, the frontman of Van Halen, I should say.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but
and I don't know, man. I've never thought. I understand when people say it, but I've never thought of David as a subpar singer.
Right.
I hear Eddie Trunk and sometimes talk about how he couldn't sing then versus now. I'm not sure exactly what he said, but making comments that are kind of leaning towards the fact that David isn't the best singer that he's ever heard. And a lot of people have said that, and I've heard that from many people. I just come from a different mindset. I think David Lee Roth is one of the best singers I've ever heard. Mm-hmm. And the reason why I say that is because I've never heard anyone sing with the passion and the conviction that David Lee Roth sings with.
I agree on that because...
And that, to me, that's just as important, if not even more important, as the technical abilities.
I agree.
Like, I can listen to a guy who's technically perfect and get nothing out of it.
You know what I think that is? I think it's maybe not the only reason, but a strong reason. How many times was David Lee Roth told, no, you're not going to be the singer of Van Halen. No, you're not going to amount to anything. And from the time he was like a young teenager, he wasn't saying, I want to be a rock star. I'm going to be a rock star. I'm going to be the singer in your band. Look where he is.
Yeah, I know. And look, David's borrowed a little bit from Jim Dandy. Everybody knows that. We all borrow from people. But, David, the thing about David is he took all that to new levels and new heights. And as a frontman, as a performer, as a singer, as a personality, just all around the whole package. David is just, he's the dude, man. And it's, I'll go to my grave saying that. And I really think that he still has it in him to deliver an album that is in line with Van Halen 1 and 2.
I agree.
That's my opinion. People can disagree with it all they want.
Well, that's fine. It opens up discussion. I don't know if I told you this before last time you were on the show, because I don't remember how far our Van Halen discussion went last time. And I say this a lot in the show, so some of our regulars will probably say, Eric, you say this to death, but some of our new people maybe not have heard this story. And I'll just ask your opinion on this. I say to people, like people always talk about the Van Halen swing, especially that really translate between Eddie and Alex, but obviously across the whole band. But I say there's three kind of key ingredients that really make that swing. And I always say that it starts with, number one, their dad. Having, from the first moments that they heard, Eddie hearing saxophone, and that's the first thing they heard, big band, blah, 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 swing. Yeah. Number two, the brothers playing without a bass player. They wake up in the morning before they even have their Cheerios or whatever they'd have for breakfast, and they'd be working out without a bass player, just Eddie and Alex, so you're filling that hole with no bass player all the time. And then three, you take this crazy guy that comes into the band that brings Motown, R&B, and all this kind of dance music, basically the blackest white man on the planet, soul. He's got more soul in his body than I don't know who. And I think you put those three things together in a stew, and there's your swing.
I get it, man. You're preaching to the choir. I totally agree with you. And such an integral part of that whole era and the greatness of Van Halen.
Yeah.
And Sammy, Sammy, they were a different band with Sammy. Still great. Still amazing, had songs to prove it, sold out arenas to prove it. But, the thing about the difference between Sammy and Dave is Sammy was more of that technical singer that I was talking about.
Sure, of course, that's right.
David was less of that technical singer, but, again, I'll take David any day of the week just because of the passion and conviction and the soul, as you put it, that he sang with.
Yeah. It's funny. I'm never the one to retell a joke, and I'm the worst joke teller. and I'm gonna screw this up. But anyways, Blue Saraceno was on the show just about a week or two back.
I love Blues.
I
Blues
know, what a wonderful guy, and the stories, and he's got some crazy David Lee Roth stories too. It's like basically being held by a hostage by David Lee Roth for 3 hours. He says like the first hour is fun, it's like Dave, all this comedy. Second hour is like, okay, it's getting old. Third hour, he's like, where's my ride? You know what I mean, kind of thing. But he said, David Lee Roth, like Blues has a party on and a party off switch. David Lee Roth is party on, and Sammy Hagar is party off. It's like it's a different environment, and I'm not gonna lie, I loved seeing all the tour. I saw Van Halen more with Sammy Hagar. No, I did see him on from '84 on, so I saw him once with the original lineup.
Sure,
but I'm not gonna lie, I loved the Sammy Hagar era, but Van Halen with the original lineup was party band of history of all time, and the music I think was just something else.
Totally. The way I can describe it, agree with it or not, is with Sammy it was great. Mm-hmm. With David it was magical.
Yeah.
And that's the difference. Sammy obviously, Red Rocker, had his own career, doing great on his own. A proven star, a legendary dude, an amazing singer, amazing talent, and a great guy. But man, there was just something about Van Halen with that original lineup in the early stages, mm-hmm. especially.
Yes.
That they had this fire, man. Like I said this in a recent interview, like who would want to be the band to follow that?
Oh boy, nobody.
Not anybody.
I know. How could you?
And many did. Mm-hmm. Journey, Boston, Black Sabbath, on and on and on. And it's like, man, I kind of feel for him.
I know. Like, it's just almost like that thunder. I'm from the moment Van Halen would walk into a club or a larger hall, event when they would start to, graduate from clubs to halls to, large arenas. It's like they would walk into the place and they would just own it. You would feel it. It's like, okay, something's wrong in the atmosphere here. I don't feel right. Like, like the Neil Schoens and the Tony Iommis and all this other kind of stuff. Like, they could almost probably feel a disturbance in the guitar force, I think, when these guys come in.
Yeah. I mean, and see, I saw Van Halen back in the day, but obviously I didn't live that time. I wasn't like following Van Halen around, seeing them perform before they made it. You know what I mean? Like Motley Crue and some of the bands from my era, I got to see before they made it and stuff. But Van Halen, I didn't get to see before they broke in the clubs. And man, I can only imagine what that must have been like. Yeah. It must have been insane. I got to experience that with Yesterday and Today, now Y&T. Before they broke, I used to go and watch them perform at the Starwood. And man, the electricity in the air was just intense. So I can only imagine Van Halen must have just been on a different planet.
I know. I really wish, like, that's the kind of thing, like, I've had some family members that got to see Jimi Hendrix at Woodstock and things like that. And seeing Van Halen in that time, seeing Jimi Hendrix at Woodstock, seeing the man walk on the moon, those are all things that are on equal proportions. It might sound silly, but, it's
it doesn't sound silly to me at all.
Yeah.
I think it's dead on. And it was very special, very special. And I don't know if it can be repeated. Jimi Hendrix, someone like Jimi Hendrix. I don't think, Eddie Hendrix changed the guitar world, and then Eddie changed the guitar world, and then nobody really since has.
I know.
Randy Rhoads is in that same caliber and certainly in that world. But who has changed the guitar world like Eddie Van Halen?
I say that's how this whole show kind of originated, was talking about his gear. And depending on the guests that come on the show, some people are scared, right? I'll invite them on the show and they're like, well, I don't know a lot about Van Halen. It's like, trust me, you don't have to. And so we'll cater the show to them. If they're a diehard Van Halen fan, we'll talk all night long. If they're not, what my kind of entry level conversation with these people is, what do you think Eddie Van Halen has done for the world of guitar? What has he done for manufacturing? And it's just basically an opinion thing. And it just brings up this great conversation. And next thing you know, myself and the guest and the people in the chat, it was 90 minutes gone by, and we're like, wow, that just went by. We just...
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I mean, you could have a 24-hour show and we could still be talking.
I know.
Like,
I know.
Quick,
a few coffees, but we could get through it.
Oh, my gosh. But I mean, it really, I can't think of anyone that's done what Eddie's done.
I know.
All around, full spectrum.
Yep.
Since Eddie, and that's what makes him so great, and so unique and so special. And and then you've got Eddie, who's in Van Halen with Roth, with Alex, with Michael. Let's not forget Michael.
Of course.
Michael is one of my all-time favorite bass players. It's just laying down the groove, and the eighth note solid in the pocket, boom, and then singing like a bird on top of it. Wow. I mean, you had the perfect package come together, you know? And it was boom.
I don't know really the real deal, nor is it my place to know what happened between Eddie and Michael. But do you think we'll ever see that bridge mended between those two? I'm sure you'd like to see it, and I'd like to see it. Do you think we'll ever see it?
Well, I think we've in our lifetime seen saying never say, saying it'll never happen, and then you realize to never say never, because it does happen. People change. I think as we get older, we become a little more humble, and at least speaking for myself, I want to see relationships that might not be me with others that might not be mended. I want to see them mended. I don't want to go down like that with any negativity in my life and whatnot. So maybe Eddie might be feeling or thinking the same thing, or Michael might be, or maybe they're already talking. Who knows? I would say, I would think that there's always that great chance that they'll work things out.
That'd be good. I know that's probably a lot more in the opposite direction when it comes to Sammy. Unfortunately, that was a bad breakup, but you know what I mean? All those guys together, they gave us a great legacy of music. It's something that it's so nice too to see these younger generations, just like with your music. You see it all the time. You've got dads bringing their sons, and sometimes 3 generations coming to a concert, just to witness this stuff. It's pretty awesome.
Unbelievable. Now, you know what might be scary, though, is if you see a dad bringing a son and the son bringing a son.
Yeah.
Then you're probably thinking, well, I'm getting pretty old, man.
Yeah, you never know. It could happen. I'm sure it does from time to time. Maybe at some Kiss shows or something like that. You never know.
Yeah, true.
There's a couple questions that I had funneled to me from my better half here. Richard Lee Rogers says, did Michael ever play a Steinberger mini flying V with a Transtrum? My buddy had one in the 80s that was a yellow and black. Did you ever have any Steinbergers or Transtrums?
I played a Steinberger.
Okay.
I sure did. When we were touring with White Lion, Vito Bratta played a Steinberger.
Yeah, that was his big thing.
Yeah, and he had the one that was more shaped almost like a
Strat style.
Strat. Yeah.
Yep.
And I really dug it. I played his, and I thought, wow, this is really nice. So I wound up buying a Steinberger.
Nice.
But I bought a little square body.
Like Eddie's?
Exactly.
Yep.
And black, it had the EMGs in it, and I actually played it live a few times. I don't know what happened to that guitar, man. It's out there somewhere in guitar land. I just don't know where.
Someone's got it.
Someone's got it.
Yeah.
And I liked it, though. It sounded great. It felt great. It played great. It was a little awkward being so small. I like having something to rest against my leg, And I had to rest against my leg.
Yeah, and so any guitar without a headstock, it's just like you almost feel like you're getting to danger zone. It's like, I'm running out of real estate here, right?
Absolutely, man. It's definitely different.
Yeah, for sure. Well,
sure.
Well, thank you for answering that. And another question from one of our friends here too, Jeff Humphreys. He does. He's an artist with Neck Illusions, and he says, can you ask Michael if his tour manager ever gave him the Neck Illusions I brought to the band? Did you ever see any of those?
Neck Illusions. It sounds very familiar. What are they exactly?
Well, there's several artists endorse them. Steve Vai is one of the artists that Jennifer Batten does as well too. I apologize, I don't know more of the artists, but they're like a vinyl overlay that go over your neck. So you can do whatever you want. Like you could have like a really cool. Actually, if you don't have them yet, I'll make sure that Jeff can still get you some new ones.
Okay.
And you can decorate your neck. Don't think of it as a sticker. Think of it as a customization for your neck that's not necessarily always permanent. You can take them back off. They're not like stickers. They don't peel off. So he must have made something custom for you, but I'll make sure he gets them to you.
It lies on the fretboard?
Yeah, great. So you have to customize it for they have templates from Neck Illusions, and it'll match up to your guitar.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, look at Steve Vai. He's got like some crazy, like the the pyramids in the eyes and all that kind of crazy stuff. Awesome. Yeah, so I'll get your...
And I'm sad to say that I don't recall that, man. If our tour manager was supposed to show us those, I don't recall.
It's okay. It happens because, so many fans are bringing you stuff and, is maybe get lost in transit. But I know we can put you two together and get them to you. So.
Okay, man.
I could just picture a couple of those black and yellow.
I'd love to check them out.
Yeah, for sure. I think some of those black and yellow guitars with some elements on the neck would look great.
You could do some really cool stuff.
Well, a lot of guys like them. Like, I've got a couple guitars I have no fret markers, and I'm not embarrassed to admit that I need fret markers on my guitar. At least I'd like to see my fret markers. I want to see the road.
I want them too.
Yeah,
I want. Oz and I perform acoustically, and we have some acoustics that don't have fret markers, and when the lights go dim,
you're lost.
We don't know where we are.
No, I know there might be some people out there, on a fiddle or a cello saying boo-hoo, you know what I mean? But, it is what it is, right?
Yeah, you know what? Let's put them on a guitar with fret markers and see how they do.
Exactly. Trying to do vibrato like this, That's hilarious. Well, something else, too, it's funny you mentioned about Sammy Hagar a minute ago. And like, I did one element I liked about Van Halen when Sammy was in the band, as I'd liked the two guitars from time to time. It was nice to have two guitars.
I agree.
And you, of course, you're coming from a band where two guitar players. And
absolutely,
there's some talk years ago. If you ever had the chance to sing for Van Halen, you would love the opportunity, and it would probably be, I think, and a lot of people would think would be a good addition to Van Halen. How would you see playing alongside Eddie Van Halen? What would you try to do as a guitar player?
God.
What would you do in a case like that? I mean, you're playing with Oz. He's a great guitar player. You're a great guitar player. But I do think, I think there's no question. This is no disrespect to Sammy Hagar. Sammy's a good singer. He's not as good on guitar. He's good, but he's certainly not you on guitar, and that's just a fact.
Well, thank you, man. I don't know. That's a good question. I think I would, like, when I was in Boston, I kind of treaded lightly.
Mm-hmm.
Like when I was asked to sing at what was supposed to be Boston's last show, I learned the vocals, but I learned the guitars as well. And when I went in with my guitar, I remember Tom's face. It was very surprised looking, because I don't think he was expecting me to have the guitar parts, learned or whatever. But when I plugged in, I just kind of like went along with whatever they needed or whatever they wanted. I never pushed myself as a guitar player, like, hey, let me do that, or hey, let me take that lead or whatever. I just kind of did whatever they wanted me to do, because obviously it's Boston, and I'm Michael Sweet, and I'm just filling in, and I would probably have the same approach with Van Halen. Whatever they need,
exactly.
I would be very happy and more than happy to try to give them that.
Well, they're very well said. And I think that's what's so cool. And actually, that worked out very well, too. I mean, fortunately, you guys were able to still, you went ahead and you did the tour when Oz was not well there for a bit. By the way, is he doing okay right now? Is he good?
You know what? Oz is in a good place right now. He's been on a special diet and just kind of resting and taking it easy. And they're observing and keeping a close eye on him. And he's in a good place right now. We're getting ready to hit the road. He went out and toured with us last year.
Mm-hmm.
Right after that situation,
right,
and everything went down, and he's going to be touring again, and we're just going to keep a close eye on him. We still have to be cautious,
of course,
because he's got a couple spots on his brain that everyone needs to keep a close eye on, and see what's going on.
Yeah, well, diet is a good thing. If he's changed his diet, I mean, I don't know what his diet was, but a change in diet, I've seen it here in the home. We almost lost my better half here, and by changing diet, saved her life.
Oh, wow.
So, well, blessings to him for that. But the thing where I was getting with that is, number one, I know he, the band had, his blessing to go out and tour, and it was very respectful from everyone involved. But not every band that's a two guitar player band can do that, go out on the road and take over, So fortunately, you've got chops. And I'm sure there's probably some nights where, you had fun, but other times you're probably like, oh man, I wish I could give this to Oz right now. But it was nice that you could do that.
All the time. I mean, I enjoy playing guitar. I love it. And as a matter of fact, when I set my guitar down, I feel naked. I feel like, what? This is weird.
Yeah.
And when I put it back on, it's like, oh, okay, there's my arm again,
Yeah.
But at the same time, we went over and we did some Australian dates as a trio without Oz. We didn't have a choice, and we went. and I'm glad that we did. But it was a very stressful situation because we're scrambling trying to figure out, okay, what do I play? I just played rhythms when
Sure.
solos were going on. And I wasn't going to try to figure out his solos or try to play solos over his parts. I just felt like that would have been weird and somewhat disrespectful and just not the right thing to do. So it worked out. But man, it's we need all four guys. As you know, a lot of Stryper songs have two guitars, a lot of harmony parts, just the solos, but all the little rhythm parts, constant harmonies. So when you're down a guitar, it's like, oh my gosh, what are we going to do?
Yeah.
So,
well, you pulled it off very, very well. I mean, fans, I saw feedback from that. People were digging it, and in some cases, it was what it was. You had to go forward the way you did it, and maybe a little bit more interactive and intimate with some of the fans for a little bit. It's some blessing in disguise.
It was different, and it took me back to the days in an interesting way. It took me back to the days when we were a trio, and not a lot of people know that, but we were a trio way back. And what happened was back in the day, we just couldn't find a guitar player that we were happy with, or personality-wise, it wasn't gelling. So I play guitar, and I'm like, give me that guitar, and we just became a trio, and we did it for quite a while that way. And then obviously once we became Stryper with Oz and myself, started writing a lot more material with two guitars. So it's very crucial to have the two guitars.
For sure. And that's the thing too, is that it's like that missing width, two guitar player bands. I mean, sometimes I've seen so many two guitar player bands where both guys got their mid scoop, they're coming at you dead up center, and it's almost like you don't even hear the second guitar player. But you guys do have such an identifiable sound that don't step on each other's toes. And if Oz lost your sound, or you lost Oz's, it's like, okay, what are we missing here? Something's not right.
Oh yeah, no doubt about it, no question about it. And our guitar tones are EQ'd to complement each other.
Nice.
So I've got a little bit more mid range in my tone. Oz has a little less mid range, but they work together.
Yeah, that's good.
It's like the glove on the hand. Just it works.
That's right. In a two guitar player band, that's obviously the secret is the mids, and people always tease me. Whenever I take an amplifier, whether it's a real amplifier or modeling stuff, I literally dime my mids. And here's a little tip I learned from a sound guy who's a friend of mine for many years. Actually, he was a guitar player and singer in one of my very first bands when I was a kid. He became a very professional sound guy. Playing a gig one day on stage with a really loud PV 5150, and my mids were scooped. It's probably at about 9 o'clock, right? So right to the left. And he's giving me some signals on the stage. You just can't. I'm like, what? Want me to turn up? And he's like, no, he's doing something. I'm like, I don't understand. And he gets all huff and puffy, and he walks up on the stage. He takes my mids and goes, whoosh, and he cranks them up, and he storms off the stage. And then I'm listening. I'm like, oh my god, my tone. And from that day forward, I dime my mids, and it's a beautiful tone.
Once you get used to it, you realize mids are what guitar is all about.
I agree.
So if you're cutting your mids, especially in a dual guitar band, you're cutting your mids. You're not going to cut out. You're not going to stand out in the mix.
No, you're buried.
You're going to be buried in the mix, and you got to have those mids to cut through. And I'm all about mids. Sometimes I have too many mids, and I've got my sound guy saying pull back on the mids a little bit. But when I listen back to audio and videos, I can always hear my guitar, man. I don't boost my guitar. I don't boost it for solos. I don't do anything. And when I solo, I hear it. I can always hear it, and it cuts through. And I thank the mids for that.
Yes, certainly. Yeah, that's right. It stands out for sure. Here's a question from Will Varela. Says, and I think I know the answer to this. We mentioned a little earlier, talked about coming up rock pile would be Lynch Mob as well. This is a George Lynch question. He says, well, Michael, will he ever work with George Lynch again? Also, wasn't Lynch one of those guitar players that changed music? Yeah, I put him in that same group of changing music as well. Maybe not in the same category as Eddie, but certainly had a contribution. But anything more with George down the road, or is he just too busy?
Well, Eddie broke in the 70s,
right.
70s. Right, and was making noise prior to that. But George, was in that scene, the 80s scene. So from all the 80 guitar players, I put George at the top of the list.
Nice.
I would put George my favorite guitar player list from the 80s, George would be in the top 3.
Very cool.
Absolutely. George would be right up there. And the thing I like about George is he plays with an intensity unlike any other player.
He does. You watch him play, like it's just emotion, and like it looks like he's literally abusing the guitar.
It's just insane, the intensity that he plays with, and he always plays like that. And not just the intensity, but the technical stuff that he does that he doesn't even know that he's doing, because he's not a real technical guy. He'll be the first to admit it. Same as Eddie, in terms of theory. They can't sit and tell you everything they're doing, right?
Right.
From a theory perspective. But, they're so technical that some of these guys that know all the theory in the world don't know what the hell they're doing.
I know.
So George is one of those guys, and I love George. Will we ever work together again? Sure. I mean, I don't see why we wouldn't. It's just been difficult to figure out a way to make it happen, because I don't want to compromise the way we produce the album or recorded the albums. And at this stage, we're kind of having to, and I don't know that I want to do that.
Yeah, no, that makes sense, because, and then you've got to talk tours. Is hard enough routing one tour, let alone,
Yeah. Oh yeah. And that's the other thing. I wanted to do some shows, and we weren't able to make that work.
Yeah.
Sadly, but I think a lot of people want to hear some Sweet and Lynch music live.
Agreed, because that's actually where we left off. Excuse me, last time you were here, which is a good year and a half ago, I think, somewhere in that neighborhood. It had to be, because your record's been out now for a year, almost a year to the day.
Yeah.
Right? So the new record was coming out. There's going to be some tours, and there was, hopes and talks that would be, a joint tour. And it just obviously didn't happen, right? And for logistics, of course. But, well, that's cool.
It didn't happen. It's sad. I mean, I would like to see it happen, and it just hasn't yet. But, we'll keep trying. We'll see what happens. But I love George.
Yeah.
I love George as a person, as a player. He's an incredible player, man, and one of my favorites.
Yeah, it certainly is. The funny story about him, this past NAMM here in January, Junior and I, we stayed at, I forget the name of the hotel, but it's right across the road, like downtown Anaheim from IHOP. And it's like 11 o'clock at night, LA time, which is like, late here. And we're hungry as heck, so we go over to IHOP. We sit down there, actually probably later, probably closer to midnight. And we turned behind us, and George is sitting right behind us. He just got off a gig, and he was a little upset. He said he had blown some stuff up on stage, some amps. Maybe his backline provided for him, whatever. So we kind of consoled him and calmed him down a little bit, and we sat and we had pancakes with him. So it was kind of a half an hour. It was kind of neat.
Oh, that's awesome, man. Yeah. That's really cool. Yeah, George is that way. He's very temperamental when it comes to gear working and the show going right. I am too. I mean, I can, because you want it to be perfect.
Exactly.
You want everything to go just as it should, and when it doesn't, it's like, it gets frustrating sometimes.
Well, that's like me too. As you know, I kind of alluded to this off the air, and a lot of the people that know me personally, I've been a prick for the past pardon my French, but for the past 2 weeks, I've been so stressed about making shows perfect. My internet was we had technical problems in our community, and my shows were held hostage. I couldn't do my shows, and I'm like, and two major guests in my opinion. I had Alex Skolnick on the show.
I love Alex. Yeah.
Well, I had to cancel him. I had to cancel him 30 minutes before the show. So it'd be like me with you tonight. You and I did a test call at 8:30, and I had to a half an hour. I had to get a hold of Alex and say, Alex, I have zero connection. And fortunately, he was a champ. I mean, I'm blessed the Lord above that he was understanding that it wasn't my fault. And I lost Stevik McKay, who was he's the head of Shuriken Guitars. He worked with Line 6 and over in Australia. And we had to do a special time for him because Australia time zone, right? So long story short, we're back, and the fans are, they were very appreciative, and my friends are appreciative that they know it's out of my hands. And as I told you tonight, this internet service provider has been calling me off the hook because they want to make sure, because I kind of ranted a little bit and said, we got to get this fixed. But it was so cool today. I'm in the car, and the chief tech calls me and says, Eric, I know you got a big show coming up tonight. We've got you all set. Just want to let you know that we love Van Halen, and we like Michael Sweet and Stryper. So
they actually knew who Michael Sweet was?
They sure did. Oh, yeah. This guy's probably in his late 30s, early 40s, right in our wheelhouse of that kind of stuff. So it was very, very cool. I was
look, we haven't had one problem tonight, man.
No, well, now we're going to. No, It honestly, it has made me feel so good because I was like literally stressed the hell out. Like, I mean, I could catch myself being irritable to everybody. I didn't mean to be, but I was. And I just feel so good. Yeah.
We get, as human beings, we get wound tight, and that affects our moods. And it's life. It's part of life. Don't worry about it. But you know what? You're up and running. You're going good. And you're back to being Eric again, man.
That's right. And the good thing is, what I'm really thrilled about this. The first night of good technology, as far as having it was a good night last night, but I didn't have any guests on. But I'm really thrilled to have you on when we got things working really, really well. I mean, I couldn't think of a better time to celebrate.
Hey, man, it was interesting because something told me to reach out to you, and I felt a little awkward and uncomfortable reaching out to you because that's not normally the way it works.
Hey, I'll take it.
I have a publicist, and everything goes through our publicist.
Because that's what we did last time, and Adam helped a little bit with that, the first one too.
Yeah, and but I just felt like I'm going to reach out to Eric, and I did, and I'm glad that I did, man.
Me too, because I go the other way. I don't even want to tell you how many hours I spend a week with publicists, and I fortunately now met a few publicists who work with multiple artists, and now they're sending me people, and it's a godsend because. I tell this story all the time. I've been trying to book Ace Frehley for 2.5 years, and he's with E1, right? They're a big company. I think it's Bill Mice is his guy, and I've been on his radar forever. And I'm gonna get him. I'm gonna get him, but it's gonna be.
Oh, you'll get him. You'll get him.
But if I don't stay on top of these publicists, they forget about me tomorrow.
No. Well, because they get caught up in other stuff, and it happens, and I get it.
Yep.
But man, you'll get Ace. I'll be watching that one when it happens.
That will be great. There's a question for you here, just coming through the chat as well too. Soldier Stryper asks, can you ask Michael the South America tour this year, September, Stryper plus Narnia plus Tourniquet meet and greets? How about it? Does that make any sense?
Oh gosh, well, we're going to South America with those bands, and we are, I believe, doing meet and greets. I'm not certain yet, and the reason why I'm not certain is because sometimes in other countries, meet and greets can be so much of a hassle or an inconvenience that it's not worth doing.
Right.
So that's why it's questionable.
Okay.
So I'm not going to say yes for sure, but I believe it's going to happen.
Now, I'm just being an idiot here because I don't know. Is it language barriers? Is it logistics? What can be a hassle sometimes?
It's all of the above.
Okay.
Logistics, language barrier, sometimes affordability.
Right. Okay.
If you have to set a price here and people can't afford it, and so it's not worth doing. It's a number of things, or sometimes organization.
Yeah.
Because you have to rely on people over there to be organized to put it all together before you get there. That doesn't always work.
Right. So in the grand scheme of things, I get this now. It's, you're doing the fans kind of a justice by sometimes not doing it because, maybe that's the first time ever meeting you guys. And if it's a train wreck outside of your control,
exactly.
that lets them down too. So that's cool.
Yeah,
I get it.
It can be a negative thing instead of a positive thing. And
yeah.
We always want meet and greets to be a positive thing. And we go the extra mile to try to make them worth the while and give the fans, more than their money's worth, because it's all about the fans at the end of the day. It certainly is for us, man.
Oh, for sure. And that's the thing. Maybe it's the first time they've ever met you. You're their hero. They've waited all these years to meet you, and it could be a bum experience, and that'd be a drag.
Yeah. No doubt about it, man. Yeah. So I hope that it's going to happen, but I can't guarantee it.
That'll be posted on the website anyways, which we have a link in the description down below as well too, because I know you've got some meet and greets on there. There's a couple tiers that you have, tier 1 and tier 2, whatever. So, and that's pretty cool. You got some things available where you can hold your guitar on stage and get a picture in front of the drum kit and stuff.
Hey, you know what, Eric? I've got 10% battery left, so if we're going to go, I think 15 more minutes.
Yeah, we'll wrap up in 5-10 minutes. Like technically 15, but we'll wrap up close enough so you don't lose.
If not, what I'll do is run and grab a cable.
No problem. We'll probably make through. We'll get through. And I know the video takes a lot of power as well too. So here's a question, so I don't forget this one. Jay Monty asked, Michael, did you hear of the screenplay for To Hell with the Devil? It's about a fictitious 80s Christian rock band. I'm playing guitar on the music, and it sounds awesome. I hope it gets released. I haven't heard anything about that.
No, I have not.
Okay.
I haven't heard a thing about that, but I want to hear more about it.
Oh, cool. If you can, Jay Monty, send us, if you're on Facebook, send us some more information through our EVH and Gear TV Facebook page, just so I can relay it to Michael as well, too. Or
That would be awesome.
Yeah, or tag Michael on Facebook as well, too. And just because we're running low on time and battery power, more so battery power, Rich Stellman says, can you please ask Michael about Sunbomb with Tracy and if he can share details?
Yes. So Tracy is working on an album, and he sent me a song, and he said, you want to sing it? And I said, oh, yeah, man, sure. I'll sing a song. And then he said, no, the whole album. So that's when I kind of took a big gulp, and I thought, oh, my gosh, I've got a lot of stuff going on. How am I going to be able to do that? And we were able to kind of figure things out, and I was able to commit to doing the whole album. It's called Sunbomb. I'm singing on it, and it's going to be coming out, from what I understand, I believe the early part of next year. Okay. I think it's getting turned in like mid-September, and it's going to come out in 2020. And then, of course, everybody knows, I hope everybody knows that I just completed a new solo album called 10. I've got a different guitar player on every song. Tracy Guns is one of them. And that's coming out in September on Rat Pack Records. And I'm really excited about it because it's a real guitar fest. It's all about guitar on this album.
Gotcha.
And that's why I'm really excited about it as a guitar player myself. And I've got all kinds of people on there. Gus G., Jeff Loomis, Andy James, Joel Hoekstra, Marzi Montazari, Tracy Guns, Mike Kerr, Ethan Broche. Oh my gosh, I got Todd LaTorre on there with me. I got Rich Ward from Fozzy. I got a lot of different guests, and it's really, really exciting.
That is fantastic. Someone else here in the chat says their daughter's got the tier 1. Where was it? See if I can find it. I just lost who said it. Oh, Gary Wiley says my daughter's getting tier 1, so that's fantastic.
Tier 1. What we have 2 different tiers. Tier 1, meet and greet, and then we have tier 2, which they get a lot of extra stuff, really cool stuff. They get to come and take a tour of the stage, pose with the guitar, sit on the drum kit, and then we're also giving away to whoever wins it one of these import Washburn guitars.
Nice.
So it's going to be a lot of fun, man.
Oh, that's good to enter that for sure. So basically, it's kind of their so whoever buys those gets put into a draw kind of thing. Is that how it works?
Exactly. It's not a raffle. Whoever buys a tier 2 meet and greet package automatically will be entered to win that guitar.
Oh, that's great.
And there will be one winner announced at the end of the tour.
Nice. Well, let's wait and see who wins that. That'll be a nice big celebration for sure.
It'll be great. And you never know. Maybe Oz will win it.
That'd be hilarious. I think someone's rigging the contest there. No, that's hilarious. Well, we've got about an ounce of battery power left. This could be a very long answer, but we'll make it very short. With all these, the talk of, potentially producing Van Halen, the wish to produce Van Halen, which you might be able to do, has there been any talk of it? Have you talked to the camp? Have you kind of put feelers out to the camp, or is it just more of a, guys, I'm here if you would like to have some coffees and talk?
It's more of that, man. I mean, it's really just kind of a dream, and probably not a realistic dream, and that's okay. I mean, that's reality. And I didn't mean to ruffle feathers and make people think I'm an egotistical jerk who is trying to be nasty and mean-spirited, because I'm not. I just love Van Halen, and I know they have it in them to create another album that rivals the past. I believe that with all my heart, mind, and soul. And I would love to be a guy that could help them achieve that, and I know I could be. But hey, it's a pipe dream, but you never know, man. Crazier things have happened. One of those things was I wound up joining the band Boston. So I never would have thought that would happen either.
That's right. Lastly, before we go, have you heard how Eddie's doing with, he's very secretive, obviously, and he's earned his retirement or whatever it is that he's doing at the moment. The only last photo I've ever seen of him current, he'd bought a new motorcycle and was smiling and happy. Have you heard how he's doing?
I haven't really. I mean, I hear little bits and pieces from friends of mine that know him and spend a little time with him here and there. And I've heard that he's doing well and seems to be happy. And I don't know Eddie personally. I've met him briefly 2 times because my wife back in those days wound up being their makeup artist.
Oh, very cool.
For a few of their live videos, and also their live live concert. I think it was in Fresno. She did their makeup for that, so I got to go to the show and hang out and meet them. But man, I don't know. I wish I had more information.
That's okay.
On Eddie. I hope he's doing well, and I wish him nothing but the best. And I got this article that Tracy and I did, framed and signed by Eddie. Adam framed it and Eddie signed it.
That's
so
beautiful.
That was pretty special. Yeah, very special.
Very nice. I'm trying to see who said it in the chat. This could be this. Krellbar says, just crash Eddie's house. So what you do is you go to the gate and you ring it and you say, "Hey, it's Michael." Wait. It's the other Michael. There you go. Don't hang up on me yet. Don't let you know what I mean. And I'm not here to sell you magazines. So, that'd be hilarious.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Well, I would never have the courage to go and crash Eddie's house.
I know. No, that's very cool. But I think it's really cool as we close here. I think it's really nice. It puts things in perspective for a lot of people because all of us here, including myself, are, I don't want to use the word fanboys, but we're fans of all these rock stars, of the Eddie Van Halens, of the Michael Sweets, of the, the Tracy Guns, and the Vito Bradas, as you talked about earlier, George Lynch. The list goes on and on and on and on, which is a good thing to have a nice list of guitar heroes. But it's cool to see you having the same respect and admiration for these guys as well, too. And I think it puts us all on a really cool, plane.
Hey, man, I'm a fan. I love music. I love musicians, and when I get inspired by somebody, I'm sold. Nice.
And that's what it's all about. Is inspiration.
That's it for me, man. And I'm not on a pedestal thinking like it's not like that for me. So these guys, I have nothing but the deepest respect for all of the gentlemen that you just mentioned, and then some. And it's just what it's all about is respect and loving and respecting each other and supporting each other.
We couldn't have ended this on a better note. That's perfect for sure. I want to thank you for spending your time with us this evening. Thank you for sharing this on your social media, and thank you everyone tuning in the chat. We had a fantastic show this evening, and I'm grateful that you reached out to me. I'll come and see you. I think it's the 15th. I think it is. You're in Toronto. I got a couple Toronto buddies. One of my buddies here that I think he's rehearsing tonight, Guitar Hack, and maybe Brian Cote. They live up in that area. I'll round them up, and we'll come out and we'll see you.
That'd be killer, Eric. Hey, thank you for having me on, brother, and thank you for always being behind us and waving that Stryper flag, that Michael Sweet flag, and it means the world, man. Thank you so much.
You got it. I'll say goodbye to you off the air if you have any juice left, and anybody that's still left in the chat. We've got a lot of people over there. Thank you so very, very much for watching. We really appreciate it, and we'll see you again here very, very soon. Thanks for your patience on our internet issues. We'll see you soon, everybody. Until next time, cheers.
Hey, you're still here? Eric Jr. here, reminding you to check out our full lineup of quality merch. Available right now in the Broadstash Boutique. Quality products and fast shipping. Visit broadstash.com today.
I am now on Patreon. If you enjoy my content and wish to support my channel and what I do, then please check out my Patreon page at patreon.com/evhgeartv. Your support assures the continued growth of this channel and a fun community in which to share our love for Van Halen, music gear, and much more.
My name is Eric, and I'm playing Wolfgang guitar.
Video production services provided by Design 39 Media. Visit design39media.com for all your website, photography, and video production needs. Microphones for EVH and Gear TV are provided by Rode Microphones, and official Van Halen merchandise is provided by vanhalenstore.com.